anyone who used the G word, as they have been. To answer your question, I think, first of all, it's so humbling listening to Wael, and it reminds us all of how shamefully we have been covering what's been happening. And really, we have to ask ourselves as journalists, how have we been covering this unprecedented targeted killings of our Palestinian colleagues? Shamefully, not very well. There have been reports, there was the Muslim Council of Britain report, there have been council's reports that have shown us, that have been forensic in detailing how partial we have been and how shoddily we have been covering this. That's at best. At worst, I would say, and this comes on to your point, I would say that we have been, some media organizations have been endangering the lives of our Palestinian colleagues in the way they've reported their killings. And I'll explain. While already talked about this investigation done by Israeli journalist Yuval Abraham for 972 magazine that exposed the legitimization cell, whose job it is, as Wael said, to launch smear campaigns, orchestrate smear campaigns against Palestinian journalists and identify journalists it can present as Hamas operatives. And there are countless examples of them doing this. And there's a pattern. It does this, as Wael said, in order to justify its subsequent killing of them because it then kills them. And you see this pattern over and over. And actually, one of Wael's colleagues, Anas al-Sharif, saw that he was a victim of one of these smear campaigns, said to the world, I'm scared Israel is going to kill me. A UN special rapporteur even said to the world, listen, she saw the pattern, I think Israel is going to kill him, and Israel killed him. Right? Now, the next step, as Wael said, is Israel, and this is all related to the point I'm going to make about how journalists deal with this. The next step is that once Israel has killed a journalist, it will then release a military statement. The Israeli military will then release a statement and, as Wael said, give so-called evidence. I say so-called because, as he rightly said, there's a long history of this evidence being exposed as fake. I'll give one example. Wael mentioned his colleague, Ismail al-Ghul, who was killed last year with his cameraman, Rami. So when the Israeli military declared him a journalist after having killed him, they provided evidence, and their evidence was documentary evidence. On this document, there were two dates. The first date was 2014, and that was the date where he had supposedly been recruited to Hamas. The second date was when he'd received his military rank, 2007, when he was just 10 years old. And as you said, John, in 2023, there was a Committee to Protect Journalists report called, was it the Pattern of Killing? Pattern of Killing. Again, and this was before October 7th. And again, it talks about these same patterns, smearing Palestinian journalists, killing them, fake evidence, right? And this is the last 20 years. So I'll get to my point. We know Israel kills witnesses to its crimes, and it's been doing this for decades. We know that. We know Israel provides fake evidence in order to justify these killings. And yet, we see some media organizations parrot these Israeli military statements as fact, without corrective, in the name of right to reply. And this is an abuse of the journalistic tactics of right to reply, because surely, as journalists, in the first place, our job is to say if and when a government is lying, not to parrot Israeli statements when we know the history of fake statements and lies. And this is, you see the Israeli propaganda machine at work, from the legitimization cell to killing the journalist, and there you have on the BBC, a news reporter reading out the legitimization cell's very justifications for killing the journalist. And something has to change. And we know it can change because, let's just take a look at how our Ukrainian colleagues are treated, right? Would Russia be given the same airtime? Would Russia be afforded the same level of right to reply? No, they wouldn't. And no, they're not. And actually, there have been respectable data journalists who have done comparative analyses on exactly this issue. And guess what? They found our media to be, it doesn't take Sherlock Holmes to crack this one, our media to be partial and biased towards Israel.
I'll let John,
And sorry, just one more point. I could go on and on and on. One more point. You know, why is this? Why are Ukrainian journalists treated differently? Partly the propaganda machine, but also the answer is depressingly simple: racism and Islamophobia.